All right, folks, back on the This Is Raleigh podcast, and we are doing a fourth quarter. We're in the final stretch of 2024. We're doing a fourth quarter real estate update with our realtor partner, Chuck Belden from Relevate Raleigh.
Yeah. Happy to
How's
be
it
here.
going?
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Love having
Happy
these
Halloween.
chats.
We are recording
Happy
this
Halloween.
on October 31. It won't be published on October 31, but
Oh,
soon after. So, yeah, spooky season.
I see
So,
we all
yeah.
dressed up.
Well, you are. You've got the chaos beard happening.
Nobody will know what that is. I literally will have to explain my costume every time, which
That's a good thing, isn't it?
maybe.
Yeah.
I'm probably just going to go with something different. I'm probably get bored with explaining because nobody's seen the show and
Yeah.
it's such a good show.
I have not either, but yeah,
you better
thanks
see
for
it
the-
quick because it's going to be gone.
Thanks for the
Yeah,
tip.
Chaos on
It's going to be
Netflix.
cancelled, everyone, if you haven't seen it.
But I'm just going to have on aviators and a tracksuit, so I really could be like any one of my uncles from upstate New York also. So
Yeah. Well, speaking of chaos, is the Raleigh real estate market chaos right now? Like how has things been?
good segue.
yeah, that was pretty good.
Good segue, you like that? How has things been in the Raleigh? Well, actually, the Greater Triangle area. I guess we can talk about the last quarter.
Yeah. You know, I feel that there's like a seasonality to real estate, right? I've been doing this long enough to see that, you know, around the fall time, around the holidays, things typically slow down. There's not a lot of people that say, hey, I want to sell my house. Let's put it on during Christmas, Thanksgiving, whatever, right? So typically things quiet down there. Also, buyers usually want to buy earlier in the year to get settled before like summer travel or school breaks or things like that. So usually the fall is where things calm down. That's not happening right now. At least I'm not seeing that. This is the busiest fall I've ever seen.
Okay.
It has been insane.
Yeah, cool.
It's been chaos.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Chaos?
It's chaos.
From
Chaos.
people mostly relocating from out of state, or it's just a
It's
mixture of
both. It really is both. I think I'm working with more sellers right now at this time of year than I ever have in the past. Probably half of them or more selling their home and moving into a new one in the same area or close by. A few are moving out of state, transitioning to be closer to family or things like that. But the buyer side of things, so half of those are buyers that are buying and staying close to where they are. But then there's still a lot of people moving here from out of state. That's why I don't think our real estate market here in the Triangle doesn't accurately reflect what people think is happening nationally. It's a different scene. There's still so many people coming here.
Yeah, it's always been that way, so strong. So what are the differences then between what people are seeing nationally compared to locally?
Yeah, I don't pay a lot of attention to the national news. I track a lot of the real estate stuff, but what I'm seeing is it's still a little bit doom and gloom. There's still inventory, not a ton of inventory, but people aren't really buying. You know, mortgage rates were supposed to go down when the Fed lowered its rate, and they did for a minute, but then it bumped back up. And so it seems to be the election. I think people wait to see what's going to happen with the election. And I actually don't think whatever happens is going to matter all that much. People just wait to see what's going to happen.
Yep.
So nationally, there's this slowdown. And maybe some of it's that seasonality I was mentioning before about the fall just being slower. But that's not happening here. People are listing their homes for sale. People are still buying. People are moving here like crazy. You know, our sales, our under contract sales last month, I think were up 25% when nationally, I think they were down 3 or 4%.
Yeah, wow.
So it's a pretty big
difference.
swing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, obviously everyone's at different stages of life. I've heard that families try and plan it to time in with the start of a school year in a perfect world, but I guess that gets a bit tricky.
It really is. You know, that's why you've heard, or maybe you've heard, everybody says the spring real estate market's so hot. Well, it's so hot because they want to buy and sell homes before the school year starts up again in the fall, or at least that's typically what it's been. And I think that's just spilled over into our mindset. And it's almost this, you know, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Is it busy because it's busy, or is it busy because we're all just flooding in at the same time and just deciding that that's the new time to be busy? Like, what's the reason why we're busy? So yes, there's more homes going up for sale and there's more buyers, but doing this in the fall or in the winter, it's not a bad time to buy and sell real estate. There may be fewer listings on the market, but there's fewer buyers. So there's fewer competition.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a wash. It's almost like it's the same. The net is the same no matter when, I kind of think.
Yeah.
And outside of families who are making those decisions that spring's a better time to move, what about the people who don't have kids, do they have a particular time of the year that's better for them? Or
well, that's the thing. That's what I want to help people understand is like, what is the better time for you? Like what makes the most sense for you? Let's not just buy into the hype of a spring market just because everybody else has. That might not matter for you. So I do think that as long as they can wrap their brain around that part and be like, oh, you know what? It is a good time to sell right now, Halloween, the end of the year, fourth quarter, because there are still buyers buying. And we might stand out more because there's fewer listings out there, if it makes sense for your life. And that's the stuff we got to figure out when we sit and we talk with mostly sellers, but buyers and sellers about what your goals are. Like what's the biggest priority for you? How do you want this transition to go? And it might not be a bad time. Like clearly right now is not a bad time to sell a home because I'm working with plenty of people that feel that way.
Yeah. Okay. What are some of the important stats like average home price in the Raleigh area?
Yeah.
Time the listing is active, and is it a buyer's or seller's market, et cetera. All
Good
that,
things.
Stuff.
I think there's not going to be much change from the last time we had this conversation. Things haven't fluctuated all that much. So let's talk about average sales price, and we'll do like the triangle. So across the board, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, all the smaller municipalities that surround it. And just generally speaking, it's still about $400,000. That's gone up and gone down a little bit since probably the last 2 or 3 years. It's varied from just under 400,000, maybe got as high as 420, 425, but it's right around 400 right now. Okay.
Do you know where that ranks nationally at all, or no?
I don't.
You have to look that up.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we can figure that one out.
Yeah. Of course we can. We need our sidekick like Joe Rogan has. I forget his name, but during the podcast interviews,
to give us all the stats while we're
Jamie. I think it's Jamie. Is it Jamie?
Yeah, I think it is Jamie.
Jamie, look this up for me. Anyway.
Jamie will get back to us on that one.
But yeah,
Jamie might be a bit slow.
Okay, so
We'll just do it in the show notes later. But it's about 400,000. And I did just read something that it was higher than Charlotte's though. I want to figure that part out.
Oh, I did.
True.
I read
did
something.
You see that too?
I didn't. The article, the headline came up, but I didn't actually get time to read it. But
Yeah.
it said Raleigh's now more expensive than Charlotte.
Which is shocking to me, by
Interesting.
the way. Yeah. So, and that's different. Raleigh itself is going to have a higher average sales price than Wendell, which is just outside of Raleigh. And Cary will have a higher sales price than Fuquay. But they're all overall about 400,000. Now, days on market. Days on market for a listing, how long it's been on the market once you list it to sell, in my opinion, is the number one driving factor for how well a home will sell, how high sales price, the best net proceeds a seller can get. Because the longer the home sits on the market, the harder it is for a seller to get top dollar. Because every single one of us thinks the exact same thing. When you're playing around on your computer and you're looking online for homes and you see one that's been on the market for 45 days, what's the first thing you think?
What's wrong with this place?
Everybody. What's wrong with it?
Wasn't it sold? There must be something wrong with
Must
the
be something.
the
Everybody
foundation,
feels that
or
way.
something's
Right?
wrong, or it's a bad street.
But here's what's funny. Like we were doing that years ago at 70 days. And then it became, now it's like 30 days. Now, because the average days on market in the triangle last month was 21 days.
Yeah.
If a home's on the market for 21, that's just 3 weeks. That's not
it's
that
not
long.
long at all.
But if it's on the market for 22 days, people out there are like, what's wrong with this house?
It's nuts.
that's so crazy.
When we were buying in 21, wasn't it? It was like,
Oh God, it was
we'd be like
half a
24
day on the
hours.
market.
It was.
This place is still for sale after 24 hours. What's wrong with it?
That
I'm
was
like, this-
exactly the mentality back
Talk
then.
about chaos.
But we all go through the same thing, right? We all think that. And so it's all about perception. And the moment a home comes on the market, there's this like backlog of ready buyers that have been looking, they're qualified, they're ready, willing, they're ready to go. Home comes on the market, they're going to see it online, everybody at the same time. And so there's metaphorically, but also often not, a rush to that home. In 2020, 2021, there was a line down the street of people trying to get in homes. Now we're not really seeing that in most cases, but there is still a lot of demand. So those first couple days, weeks are really crucial. But 21 days isn't that long, right? And that's general across the market. You might find a neighborhood in Cary or in North Raleigh that's fewer. You might find something that's a little more rural that gives you a little bit more time. But generally speaking, about 21 days.
Okay. So that's average sales price, days on market, buyers or sellers market. How do you think about that?
So people way smarter than me have said forever that a balanced real estate market is when it would take about 5 to 6 months to sell all the available homes that are currently active, currently listed right now. So if your months of supply of inventory is less than 6 months, they typically say that's a seller's market. And the lower the number, the stronger the market. Right now, we're at about 2.8 months. So about 3 months of available inventory. So that's still a good, I think, strong seller's market. Back in the end of 2020, 2021, our inventory was 14 days.
Yeah, wow.
So we're at 3 months right now,
Wow.
ish. There was 14 days of inventory back
crazy.
then, and that's why there were lines of people down the street to get homes.
Yeah.
But it's still a seller's market for sure.
Yeah.
And is part of that change now we have more sellers, less buyers?
So
Or
you would think that would then start to flip it to a buyer's market. Higher inventory, less demand is how things start to shift the other way. And I think that's part of what's influencing that 2.8 months and not, 1.8 months or 0.8 months. But it's not enough to swing the pendulum all the way yet. We're just not there. There's still so many people moving here. The demand is still so high.
yeah. And so you've said like some listings now you might look at like 45 days on the market and you're like, what's wrong with it? What could a buyer, when they're looking at properties like that, what kind of questions or things can they research about that property to see why it may be on listing for that long?
Yeah.
I know you're a buyer's agent, so you probably guide your buyers through this process, but what does that look like?
I think, so one, they should have an agent that knows how to read kind of market data and statistics to know, okay, what is the average days on market for this specific subdivision? I can throw out 21 days for the whole triangle, but if we were to pick your neighborhood, that might not be 21 days, right? So I want to know what's on average for that. Then I look to see how long our subject home is listed. And now, are we under that or are we over that? Now, let's assume for this conversation, we're over that. Say it's 21 days and we're at 45 days. Immediately, I start to wonder, okay, why? So the first thing I do is I look at the photos. Like, did the listing agent just cut corners and use their iPhone and take some less than desirable photos and put on there? Because every single one of us, how are we shopping for homes right now?
Researching online.
All of us.
Like on
right?
first impressions, like whether you're taking a travel destination or staying in a hotel, like, you're looking at photos or videos.
That's right.
So-
And so as a listing agent, my job is to get the home sold, right? But in order to do that, I got to get offers. And in order to do that in this type of market, I've got to get people in the door. So marketing a home it's not as easy as people think. Like during these COVID years, some people, not everybody, some agents would just put a sign in the yard because that's all you had to do.
Yeah.
But most of those are out of the business right now. And so marketing the home properly comes down to three things. The price. You can price your home aggressively if you've fully prepared it and you've done a good job and you've got great marketing photos and you've got a great listing description. But if you overprice a home, we're not dumb. We know. All of us know. We can tell when it's overpriced, right? So you can stretch it if you've done all that other stuff, right? Preparing your home, it's got to look like a model home these days if you want to get top dollar.
Yeah.
There's too much competition out there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's got to look great.
Yeah.
And then the promotion piece of it. So it's like pricing, preparing, and promotion. And that's what we do online. And so I look at all those things. How did they price it compared to what's recently sold or for sale in the neighborhood? How well is it prepared? How do the photos look? And maybe they're just bad photos. Maybe nobody's made an offer yet because the photos are terrible. Nobody's actually gone to see it.
Yeah.
So that could be it.
Yeah.
And
A lot of
then
factors.
I'll really know once I go inside. Because you can hide some things with creative photos, right?
Yeah.
But like once we go inside, then I'll know, oh, this is why it hasn't sold. I can see this or I can see that.
Yeah.
Or you see like the railroad tracks go right through the backyard and they didn't show that in the photos or whatever the case may be. But that's kind of some of the research I do when I'm advising a buyer on, okay, this is why this one's still on the market.
Yeah, good. So you should never just say, well, that's 45 days. There must be something wrong with it and turn away. You've got to dive in a little bit deeper. To
Definitely
find the
not.
story. Yeah.
Definitely not. And on the other side, as a listing agent, I had some sellers there that I work with just recently. The home actually closes today. That the average days on market in the specific neighborhood was higher. It was around 40. And I like to there's a lot of data I can uncover in the first 3 weeks a home's on the market, 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the neighborhood. If the neighborhood is selling faster, if it's a neighborhood that's like that 21 to 30 days, the first 2 weeks, based on how much showing traffic I get, if we have any offers, the feedback I get from agents, that tells me a lot about how we're priced. The neighborhood I was talking about is we were 3 weeks on and we hadn't had any offers yet, but we'd had some good showings. My sellers were starting to get a little bit nervous. They're like, let's lower the price. Let's lower the price. And I'm like, hang on there. Just wait. Give me a couple more days. Give me a couple more days. I think we're just waiting for the right buyer.
Yeah.
And about 4 days later, the right buyer came in and paid what they were looking for. And they wouldn't have got that if they would have lowered the price. But understanding that specific neighborhood and that we showed well, we were priced well, we were just waiting for the right person and we got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess it's like everything, like marketing and the price point. What's that saying? You could have the best house for sale in the neighborhood. If no one knows about it, who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
And having people working for you who know what they're doing, like Chuck.
Yeah,
I mean?
find those hidden gems. Totally.
Well,
Kind of like a coach. Well,
it's important. There's a lot of people that just want to wing it. And there's a lot of people that get real estate licenses for various reasons. Not all of them approach their businesses the same way, right? And so there's something for everybody out there.
Yeah.
But I take it very seriously. Sometimes I get really into the data, but at the end of the day, it's just to help advise people to make how to make the best decision for them.
Yeah, that you can make better decisions with the more data you have.
That's right.
Or data, as I'd say.
Oh, that's fancy.
I'm like saying,
data.
I know, I'm saying data. I'm like, gosh, keep me Australian.
Data.
Details.
The data.
Or they say it differently too. We say details. They say
Details.
But it's the exact same thing, isn't it? Details.
Details.
How do we
but you
say
say details.
I don't
And
say
you say
details.
defense.
I've never said details.
Defense. We say defense, and Americans say defense.
Yeah.
Defense. Yeah, I would say
Defense.
defense, like if I was at a football game.
Yeah.
American
Anyway, sorry.
football.
I keep
little side
relating
chaos.
everything to our journey, which is probably not accurate because we bought 3 years ago now.
Crazy
But
time.
what's it like out there now? Because when we were buying,
Yeah.
we had to offer over asking price. So how aggressive are people? Is it still that? Like, does a seller still expecting get offers over asking, or is it
And
back
high
to normal
diligence.
days? Like,
Yeah.
actually, because like I've said before, never in a million years would have thought. It always used to be, how much do you offer under asking, and then it was how much do you offer over asking.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But, so
It's that is such an interesting, nuanced question. It does depend. My answer. It depends. So I think we would be naive to think that even going back to kind of the COVID time and that market when it was just insane and you guys bought that, every home had to go over asking price. Because imagine if I had this, 500 square foot fixer upper house and I said, I want $10 million for it, right? Someone's
Talking
not
about a house in California.
Yeah,
I saw
kind of.
that house.
in Oakwood in downtown Raleigh. And imagine if somebody like automatically said, well, I got to offer 11 million. Like, no, I'm ridiculously overpriced,
Yeah.
right? So we couldn't just slap any price on a home and automatically get overpriced. You still had to be within some sort
Right,
of reasonable range and also have the home look in some sort of way that it invoked enough emotion from a buyer that they then wanted to pay that. But that being said, back then, I remember 90% of homes were selling for over asking price, 9 out of 10. Okay. It's like flip now. I believe about 10% are selling for over asking price. Okay. And it really just does still come down to, how's the home look? Where's it located? And how's it priced right now? And there are some strategies we sometimes use to get it to go for over asking price, because it is way easier to correct if you underprice a home versus overprice a home. If you overprice a home, it's going to sit. It's going to be 45 days. People are going to be like, what's wrong with it, right? But if you underprice it and you get multiple offers and it drives the price back up, that's a good problem.
Right.
So it really depends.
Yeah.
Well, that's promising for everyone to know that it's not 90% of homes going over asking now.
No, and it's a great time to be buying right now if somebody needs and wants to buy a home to change or improve their life, or they're moving here, because there is less competition. There's plenty of inventory. It's a great time to be doing it right now. And it's an easier time to negotiate when there's not 25 other offers on a home, right? So if you're looking to buy a home, you've got a better opportunity to get what you're looking for, within reason, also for the terms that you want, because of just kind of the state of things right now.
Yeah. The other thing unique to the Raleigh market is due diligence money, I just thought of. So for folks potentially moving from out of state, give us the 30-second definition of due diligence money, and where's that at right now? Because again, I'm not going to say it. 3 years ago when we were buying, due diligence money was crazy.
Due diligence is something that is definitely unique to North Carolina. It may be in other states, but I'm not licensed in other states, so I can't be certain of that. But it's basically a non-refundable deposit you make when your offer is accepted as a sign of good faith that also allows you to back out of the contract for any reason or no reason. If the wind blows or if you find a hole in the roof, whatever it is, that's your one contingency in North Carolina. We don't have other contingencies. There's no, if I don't get the loan, I get out of this house, or if my home inspection uncovers this, I get out of the house. None of those matter in North Carolina. You buy the house as is, but for this amount of money, and it's negotiable between you and the buyer and the seller, you can walk away for any reason.
Yeah.
It's around, there's no set amount because it's negotiable, but I would anticipate somewhere around 1% of the sales price being that number that most people are starting with. And maybe it goes below, maybe it goes above.
Yeah, perfect. Great
Might have been
explanation.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Because I know we'd never heard of it before. Obviously, not growing up here, but I know. Yeah.
If you're moving here from out of state, that's the hardest one to wrap your brain around, and you really, there's no way to feel warm and fuzzy about it. There just really isn't. But with a good agent, they'll help you uncover as many red flags as possible when you go to make your offer, so that whatever amount you negotiate for there, you should feel good about it. And in my whole career, I've never had a buyer lose their due diligence money. They've either bought the house or we got it back. So I've never, so like as much as risky as it is, we're pretty good about protecting people's money.
Yeah, I remember when we bought our house, our agent was really good at doing what you just said. It definitely made us feel a lot more secure about putting, and back then you had to put a lot down. So we felt pretty safe that the deal would go through and we wouldn't have too many problems on the other end. And it ended up being that way. But to your point, having a good agent on your side that can see things that you wouldn't know because you're not in that world is really important.
And keeping, as a buyer, you want to keep that money as low as possible, and sellers want it as high as possible. So negotiating it, like if you don't do this every day, like some of us do, like it can be a challenging situation. So work with an agent that knows how to navigate that.
Yeah, and that due diligence money becomes part of your deposit.
Sure.
Correct?
Yeah. It acts as a credit once you actually close on the home, which is great.
Yeah.
It's really just if you decide to back out. So navigating all of the reasons why you would potentially back out before you make the contract is a good thing.
Fun.
Oh, just so much joy with that one. But yeah, we've got people moving here from all the different states that are going through that right now. And it's the one thing that they have, I think, the biggest challenge with. Because, think about it. Moving from state to state is already hard enough. And you go to a state that has a totally different process than what you're used to.
Yeah.
And that's hard. And I think that ties also to, our market here is different than what it is nationally. And so, I'm working with a buyer that's trying to move here from Florida right now, that her area in Florida, in her mind, she's got plenty of time. It's going to take a little while. I'm going to take my time to prepare my house and get it on the market. And it's probably going to be this long before I get an offer. And then I'll let you know about the house up there. And I'm like, no, that doesn't work that way here. Like, we kind of got to figure things out here first, and then you got to hustle down there.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's got one or two more questions, I think, and we're good. For those people researching from out of state or whatever, any specific neighborhoods that are seeing more activity or demand that come to mind in the triangle?
I think one of the great things about our area, and also one of the big pains in the butt about our area, is just how spread out it is, how different it is. There really is, I think, something for everybody. So if someone's moving here from out of town, I need more background on how to answer, like what neighborhoods would be, I think, ideal for them. I want to know what they're into, right? Yeah. And so, but I think we're still seeing a lot of new construction, right? And if you think about, the further you get outside our sort of urban centers, there's still land that is being developed right now. So we're still seeing a lot of new construction. And generally speaking, most people would prefer a brand new house over one that somebody's lived in. If you're comparing two things, that's usually the case. And so we're seeing a lot more people these days moving away from, I think, the urban centers, looking for brand new construction, or in areas that have gone through a big revitalization where they've torn homes down and built them back up. So I'm definitely seeing a lot of that.
Perfect. The last question, I think, like looking ahead, as you said, we're 5 days out from the election. we're recording this, so we don't
We're not
know
gonna
what's
talk about that,
happening
are
with
we?
that.
No,
but
we're not talking about that.
yeah, no, we're not. I don't have
It's been enough
a month.
talking about the past 4 years.
But yeah, so we're coming towards the end of the year. Looking ahead, yeah. How do you feel about like the first quarter in 2025? Like any trends you expect, or we'll see? Or?
I think what we're going to do is, because we haven't had a slowdown this fall, I think it's going to get even busier come the first of the year. I really do believe that there's a seasonality of real estate happening. There is a slowdown a little bit, even though it doesn't show it much, in buyer activity right now. And I believe the reason for that is, one, the election. I think no matter what happens, people are just waiting for it to be over. Mm-hmm. I also think that there was a lot of hype about interest rates coming down last month, and they did come down like a split second, and then they went right back up. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think that if interest rates, people are waiting to see what happens with that. If interest rates come down at all come the beginning of the year, that's going right back up.
The interest rates will go back up.
No, I think if interest rates come down, buyer activity is going right back up.
Okay,
So I think the election being behind us, hopefully, I think interest rates either being stable or going down is probably going to bring more people out. Just being the spring market, because it's just the spring market, I really think we're going to see, kind of things go on fire again beginning of the year. I really do, because at this time of year, I'm usually working with a handful of clients, more buyers than sellers. And right now it's flipped. It's more sellers than buyers. Yeah. And I think come this first of the year, there's going to be a lot of buyer activity.
Bring on 2025.
Yeah. Man, I can't believe we're talking about 2025 already. It's like, where did 2024 go? But anyway, here we are.
No doubt.
We're still in it.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, that's great. Very helpful. We are going to be doing these quarterly market updates with Chuck throughout the year. So if you're into real estate and thinking of relocating to the Raleigh area, subscribe to this podcast. And the best way to keep up to date with us is on an email list. Mm-hmm. So go to thisisraleigh.com on the homepage, and you can subscribe to our weekly email updates so you don't miss anything.
That's right. On there we share our latest fun finds, top events for the week, great podcast episodes like we've just done with Chuck.
Yeah.
And
but yeah, as we mentioned, Chuck is our realtor partner, and so we got lots of things planned ahead for that too, moving into 2025.
Yes,
as far as helping you guys relocate and go through the whole buying process.
Yeah, we've got some teamwork making the dream work happen. We're going to have some fun things like meetups and more podcast episodes, more community-based stuff through This Is Raleigh and Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Anything we can do to help people find their community, here, I think is awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
we're
like
definitely on the same page with that. Yeah.
I guess to just wrap it up by saying, like, every city in America, like, there's a million realtors. Like, how do you, like, what's your mission, and how do you differentiate yourself as a realtor in the local market?
Yeah, I think, one, I think is the reason why I got started. If I think back, it's been 16 years now. Bought my first home and got into a really bad situation. I didn't know anything about real estate. I had a terrible lender that I think took advantage of me. I was my agent's very first client. He didn't know what he was doing, and I was uneducated and ignorant and made some bad decisions. 2 years later, bought a second house thinking I knew what I was doing, and that one didn't go much better. Yeah. And so I decided to become a real estate agent because I wanted to help people, one, have a better experience than I had, because this is stressful, it's emotional, but it could be fun and enjoyable. And so I really take the position of, I want a full service luxury experience regardless of the person's budget. So I want to be there to help educate and support and do all the heavy lifting for people, so that at the end of the process, they look back and they're like, wow, that was fun. And then they want to tell everybody about me, because I work almost exclusively by referral. Yeah. So I want to do the absolute best job I can for them, take care of them, so that they tell everybody how great it was.
I love
awesome.
That. Client care, number one.
Oh,
Very important. Yep.
Yeah. So reach out to us, guys. We'll put our email and our phone number in the show notes, or like I said, go to thisisraleigh.com and subscribe to our email.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next podcast.